or what you do.
Solid. So that's your definition of it.
Yes, that's my definition.
Hey, just curious, Mike, I don't know if we sent this out. Did you get a chance to see this blog post last year from Renee, the 3 Ps?
No, I didn't see it.
So yeah, all right. We're hoping to get this over to you to look at. Jeff, you know this article pretty well. Still pretty relevant.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of articles on Dealer Refresh that are like years old that are still relevant.
What?
And anytime you go into personal branding, of course, it's going to be relevant. I mean, not much of it. I mean, personal branding hasn't changed. I mean, Mike's definition, it's obviously it's very broad, but, in today's world of technology, it's, how are you utilizing technology in order to brand yourself? I was selling Volkswagens back in 98, 99, and the dealership didn't have a website, so I started my own website and went down the route of personal branding. So I personally always get really excited when I see somebody else that just has that entrepreneur spirit and just takes it to a whole nother level. So, taking it to another level, let me ask you, Mike, I mean, what is your personal brand? Being a Honda sales professional, what's your personal brand?
Yeah, I think I built it upon, first of all, knowing who I am and what I wanted to tell others. I then looked at who I wanted to target as my audience. And for me, knowing that females represent 85% of the buying market, that was who I was targeting. So I wanted to come across as someone who was friendly, someone who.
But you're not really friendly?
No, I'm not really.
That's why he's on Facebook.
My goal was to build trust in an audience who I had not yet connected with.
And what are some of the things that you're doing in order to achieve that? I mean, that's obviously that's personal branding, but there's got to be some particular things that you're doing in order to achieve that, other than the fantastic smile and photo, right there on your own website.
Yeah.
Well, just that he has a website is uncommon. I'm surprised how few people go this direction in this business, and you have a full-fledged website around it.
Well, the idea for the website is primarily because research shows that people are going to buy before they come into the dealership. And if people are already online looking, they're going to decide the brand. They may decide the dealership they're going to, but they don't have a connection with a salesperson. So the website was designed to build that bridge or fill the gap between making the brand decision and the dealership decision, and then finding the salesperson to do business with.
So you do believe that consumers are out there, and once they find the vehicle that they're interested in, there's value for them to find who they want to work with before coming into the dealership.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you've been able to, obviously you've been able to leverage that, and all your different pieces of real estate that you use to brand yourself. I'm curious, like, let's say someone just walks into the dealership. Are they going, where's Mike at? I only want to work with Mike. You've had no prior contact with this possible customer. Maybe they've read some reviews. I mean, what's some of I'd love to hear some examples of what customers say. Are they asking for you? Are they refusing to work with anybody else because they want to work with you because of your online presence?
Yes, and it happened this week. In fact, an older gentleman, I was surprised it was an older gentleman who said this. He came in and asked for Mike Columbus, and someone pointed out where I was. He says, I know where he is. I know what he looks like. I've seen him all over the internet. So in my mind, that accomplished the goal of self-branding. It accomplished, in my mind, the effort and time that I put into building my online presence.
No, that's awesome. We obviously, I'm at the dealership and I push self-branding. We leverage our ratings, reviews, Dealer Rater, different other ratings and reviews, Cars.com, of course, which is one of the same company now. But it's always been a big push for me as well, is to get those reviews, because that is the self-branding. You're a diamond in the rough, or whatever you would say, a needle in a haystack that, that actually just takes it to a whole nother level. And I mean, heck, you even have your own logo. So, and boom shalaka. So
boom shalaka. It's boom shakalaka.
Yeah, I was just thinking shakalaka. They don't have basketball in Hagerstown.
And no, we don't have that. Quit talking about
Vital would eat that up. Mike,
you say Hagerstown, people's going to look that up on the map and think I'm some from boony guy,
Yeah, well, you are.
You're on the edge of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore.
I'm right on the edge. That's what I say.
You're on the edge of like the most wealthy county in the nation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I am. And it doesn't help my pocketbook, that's for sure.
Hopefully you have easier credit deals there than some other places. Mike, personal branding has been critical forever. You can go back to Joe Girard, the Greatest Salesman book, and in the 70s, how he was branding himself in Detroit. Why is it so much more critical in 2017 than even was 5 or 10 or 20 years ago when Jeff first built his website?
Well, one is competition. I think there's competition on the floor. There's competition between dealerships, and if you're trying to exceed and excel, you need to do everything possible to reach a higher level. And personal branding and putting your persona out there is vitally important in this day and age. But it's becoming more and more popular in other industries as well. And I noticed it. I noticed it in Seattle. I went out to Seattle for some interviews, and it was to my advantage that I had a personal brand out there.
I have a question for you, Mike, off the cusp here. Where does the process start for you to interface with a customer? Does a lead come into the dealership and then you kind of bring them into, that branded experience, or are you fishnetting and generating new business through your personal brand?
No, you have to constantly fish and fish and fish. You have to understand engagement. You have to understand how often to post that you're a car salesman, and how often to post family pictures, and how often to post other fun things that you're doing. But it's all a matter of constant engagement, so that when a person's like, oh yeah, my mom's looking for a car, can you help? It's that you've constantly maintained and built a relationship with people so that they're thinking about you when it's time to buy a car. But it can't be sell, 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 sell.
So, and you mentioned earlier, before we got started in the broadcast, that you get more engagement whenever you're using your own personal Facebook page, which I can only imagine, just like you said, you almost have to have or find that fair balance between being the sales professional and also being you, right? And not going overboard with the sales message. What's if you had a secret out there? I mean, or if you had.
Yeah. So the professional page is just to build that persona that I'm a Honda sales professional. Here's company data. Here's what's happening in the industry. Here's what's happening with the product, and not much room for engagement. You can't tag like you can on your personal page. So the personal page, I do fun videos. I do serious videos. I engage as much as I can with people in other industries and make sure that they know exactly what I do.
You know what, Ryan? Let's get a few, Mike. Let's get a few examples from you for maybe a future article, and love to maybe get some of those videos that we could share, because I think that'd be very educational. And, you know, for others and our listeners to be like, oh, okay, you know, this is how Mike does it, and it's always a great example.
Well, let's do this. We have for folks that are listening, and even if you're not live, if you're watching like the recording of this, if you use the hashtag DFresh, or if you just tag DealerRefresh, feel free to chime in with some questions. Again, even if we're not live, you're watching the recording, feel free to throw in some questions, because what we'll do is we want to direct people to like the forums here. I have right here on the forums, I have a particular thread from, I think, a couple of years ago around sales branded presence. But we can take questions from Twitter that people send in, or our members can just go right to the forum and post their own forum threads around branding. I go back to my question with you, Mike, which is that starting point. It sounds like you use Facebook a lot to really, observe and network and get feelers out there, and then bring them into your to your pipeline, per se.
Okay. So if I was to go back and say, where did I start? I started with a marketing person who I explained what I wanted to do with my name. So I wanted to brand my name, Mike Columbus. I wanted a certain font. I wanted a certain style. I wanted to project a certain image, and we built upon the name. So the first thing I did was secure MikeColumbus.net from GoDaddy and build the website. The website was static. It's still a bit too static, but we're going to be making some modifications soon. After the web page was built, I wanted the professional persona out there, so I built some things on LinkedIn, and I continue to use LinkedIn. LinkedIn through Sales Navigator, I use to do some fishing, finding people I do some B2B work with them, and then Facebook for engagement. So I still recommend strongly having at least 4 platforms. My 4, of course, is the website, Facebook, LinkedIn, and currently using Instagram, but probably will be doing more with Snapchat.
Really? Snapchat? How comes?
Well, Snapchat seems to be where everyone's at. The young guys at my dealership are on it all the time. My brand is using Snapchat. They are running a promotion right now. It's Honda. Take a Snapchat photo on a test drive. Mm-hmm. So I see that being happening.
So you're watching what manufacturers doing as well, and that maybe allows you the opportunity to sort of stem off or rebound off of what they're doing as well. That makes sense.
Right.
I like that idea.
If you're trying to chase a female demographic, Snapchat's definitely where to be in a consumer side too.
Yeah.
You don't do Musical.ly? Come on. My daughter, she was all over Musical.ly, so maybe you could do some. You're in the music videos or something like that.
We need Mike Columbus. We need to have a DealerRefresh lip sync contest.
No.
Hey, I think we got Ryan Coughlin online. He's our big rock star at the dealership. He would like that.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I'm on your LinkedIn page. I see you have an article from February, but that's the only one you've posted. Is it something you wrote original? I haven't looked into it, but what keeps you, other than time, what keeps you from putting more content up on LinkedIn around around the Honda brand or what you're doing?
It's strictly timing. I spend so much time on Facebook, and not just to have a social group of friends. It's really, we've built relationships, and I have relationships with people all over the country that have helped me enormously. So I do spend just so much time on Facebook, and probably should balance it out more. I've seen bigger returns from Facebook than I have LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, that was my question. What if you had to break it up into a percentage pie chart of some sort? Like, how much time is spent between the different social sites? You've answered that, but if you could do maybe throw a percentage at it, what would it be?
I would say LinkedIn is 10%. Facebook is 80%.
Wow.
And then 5 and 5 between the two. LinkedIn, the response rate is so slow. It might be 2 weeks before I get a response back from someone that I sent an email to. It's just, I like the instant engagement. Facebook is just so much different of a platform than LinkedIn. But I think LinkedIn is necessary for certain target audiences you're trying to reach. But it's not as interactive.
Where do you see personal branding go, Mike? I mean, you're probably as much as any salesperson on the pulse of what's coming up, which, that's evident by the fact that you're even looking at Snapchat, because that can be a little bit of a stretch, but if you can find a way to connect with people, it makes a difference. So
I see personal brand. Yeah, I see across the board personal branding becoming more and more necessary, not only in our industry, but in other industries. Just to give you a brief story, I went to Seattle last week, and from the moment I hit the ground, I had people that I knew. A dealership wanted to come to the airport, pick me up, wanted to give me a car for the week. And it's all because of the personal brand. If you think you're going to get your next job because of your resume or your cover letter, that doesn't happen anymore. People need to know who you are before you sit down and talk to them. And personal branding, in my opinion, is the only way that's going to happen.
And we talked about the website, which it does take not only a time investment, but a financial investment. And I know you on your Facebook business page, you've paid for boosting. What do you reinvest in yourself economically for this branding?
Because you have to invest in yourself if you're going to.
About how much a month, though, do you end up throwing at it?
Sometimes it's over $1,000 a month. It's not inexpensive. And then you have to decide where you're going to invest your money. Sometimes it's in training. I've paid for training. I've paid for websites. I've paid for boosting ads on Facebook. I'm always looking for the next thing that's going to help me. But I can't say that I've put all my money into one basket.
Well, and that's where we met you, was training. I mean, I think you and Ryan and I originally met at the Rockstar Automotive Conference in Dallas, which isn't next to New York.
Yes.
And you went there for work. It wasn't like you tied it in with a vacation to Disney or for the kids or grandkids or whatever. So that's a critical part. How much would you say goes into, say, the social side? Do you end up investing each month? I
probably invest $400 or $500 a month.
Okay. Wow. And you've got a substantial return. I mean, in a bracket of salesperson profitability, where would you put yourself? Yeah, top 10%, top 25%, knowing that the average for the last 30 years has been 30 grand a year.
Yeah, I would say top 10%.
So it's been worth it for you.
It is. And then there's returns that it's hard to measure a response or how an ad works or what you're trying to accomplish. I certainly have a bigger picture of what I'm trying to accomplish more than just selling cars. So, for example, I boosted today's program and what I'm doing here for various reasons. But I think it's important to be more than just a car salesman.
Mike, do you feel that you are tied, like glued to the Honda brand? A lot of folks, they'll spend a couple years with one brand, bounce to another. Is there a risk that you're taking, or you're like, I'm going to only be with Honda for the rest of my life?
Yeah, you know what? I have to say yes. And here's the reason why I answer that way. You have to know your brand. You have to be able to explain your brand. You have to be in love with your brand. And if you're not in love with your brand, you're going to fail.
Passion.
Yeah.
So personal branding is definitely a long shot for the transient, non-career salesperson.
Well, and that's the problem, and all of us can probably attest to that. That's the problem in this industry a lot of times. I mean, I was a trainer with a large group for quite a while, and I go through these initial trainings, put on these initial trainings, and go around the room and ask them, like, why are you here? And so many times in our industry, I needed a job. This is just a part-time thing for me. You know, I lost my other job, so I need this. I just got out of you know, armed forces, or the Army. Like I needed something to do. I feel as if I'm pretty good with people, so I thought I'd, you know, and of course, car dealerships are pretty quick to hire. I don't want to say just about anybody, but you know, we're sometimes, you know,
anyone willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, they got a heartbeat. Let's give them the opportunity. Nothing wrong with that. You know, but it was very far and few between, and that's what I would teach them. To me, it didn't matter what you're selling. Just make a decision, a conscious decision on, are you going to be a professional salesperson? It doesn't matter if you're selling TVs, cars, land, property, boats, whatever it may be. Are you going to be a professional salesperson? And, you know, that really resonated with most of the people that I spoke to. You know, so obviously, you know, you've taken that route, and that's why you invest in yourself. You've said, hey, I'm going to be a professional salesperson, and this is what I'm going to do. But it's, you know, it's just,
you know, I got a question.
Who does
you know, sorry, we're so focused on digital, Mike, but I know you're like a community-minded guy. Beyond just the computer and the mobile screen, what else do you do in your community to brand yourself? Because I mean, I used to volunteer to go work events when the dealership sponsored a boat show or a charity event. I used to go put flyers on cars saying I wanted to buy your car, and ended up with business that way when it was old school analog and I needed someone to sell a car to. What do you do outside the store?
I believe very much in local chambers and working with local community in that way. I believe in business networking, and I participate once a week in a business network group. I have even knocked on doors. I did some research in successful sales. Because of my medical background,
So you went door to door with your car sales. Now, was that just like people that already bought from you and went to their neighbors, or did you just find a neighborhood?
No, what happened was we live in a new neighborhood, and I would get angry every time I see a new Honda in someone's driveway. And I said, instead of getting angry, why don't you just do something? And I thought, you know what, you're a pretty smart cookie. Why don't I just do something? So I put together, around Christmas time, I put together a calendar with my picture on it and some other little goodies in it. And I went door to door and introduced myself and handed a calendar to all the neighbors and said, next time you're looking for a car, come see me.
And that's another reason you're in the top 10%. That's awesome, because you had the internal fortitude to get out there. Man, it's been great having you on here. This DealerRefresh live car people hanging out. It's been a fun time. So cheers to everybody who joined us. Mike, did you bring any beverage?
You know, I
saw a Diet Coke.
Well, cheers with a Diet Coke or whatever's in that can.
You know, thanks.
A little bit of rum in there.
Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate being here. Seattle's going to be great. I'm leaving Saturday morning for Seattle.
Awesome.
Started a new dealership on the 18th.
Oh, wow.
We are excited about taking the show to Seattle.
Well, man, that's going to be a whole nother story for us then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to part 2 of the Mike Columbus branding story. How to break into a new market.
Thank you.
So folks that are listening live, and again, even on the recording here, these are web chats, as we call them. We'll be doing them on a regular basis, you know, as often as we want. We'll definitely want Mike to come in. You know, you're welcome anytime to come up here, and we don't have to always talk about personal branding. We can talk about a variety of things. So, you know, just, it's kind of an open forum. So folks listening, if you're interested in getting on one of these chats with us, you know, focus on a topic, personal branding, something that's going to continue to evolve. You know, I was saying earlier, it's funny how, you know, Jeff, we've been talking about personal branding for years, and I still feel like so few people do it. I mean, I built a platform for it back in 2010, so that someone like Mike, who wants to build a brand and then reassociate to a new dealer, had a turnkey way to do that. But 7 years ago, it was not even something that that I could
before
sell.
it's time. Hey,
You know,
Mike,
and-
we had a quick question from Amanda
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah, we got like lots of questions actually.
In 12, well, in 12 seconds, well, she threw it all. I want to make that was a Twitter question. How much in 20 seconds or less, how much time a day do you actually spend on branding versus selling cars itself?
I spend as much time as I can when I'm walking the lot, when I'm sitting at my desk, when I'm in the break room, on social media networking and engaging. It's all about engagement.
Okay, but you're still getting your follow-up calls done and CSI calls and big.
He doesn't need to do follow-up calls. People just come in and ask for him.
There you
He's
go.
got 100% closing ratio.
In demand.
Thanks, Jeff.
You got it, bro.
Guys,
Any
it's
other
been great
questions?
hanging out.
Yeah, this has been great. We really do. We got a hell of a Twitter stream going on, just with questions and stuff. So I can see us doing a part 2, 3, 4 of this with you, Mike.
Great. We love that.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? We'll take these Twitter questions and get them posted. The answers posted on Dealer Refresh from Mike. What is
Okay.
in the next 24 hours?
Well,
Well, I'm going to get a recorded version of this up as a blog post, and we'll sync it into the forum as well, and
Awesome.
really build on that. I didn't tell you guys, but I broadcast this on Facebook about 5 minutes in. So
Okay.
shouts out to those on Facebook that are watching. I see Chris Leslie left a few comments, and Amanda Ryan's up there. So again, we're going to be doing this on a very regular basis. I mean, I'd like to see us doing this almost weekly. For those that want to receive text alerts, text Dealer Refresh to 555-888. We'll send text alerts out when we're going live and when the recordings are available. And then obviously some of the folks found our hashtag. Coming up next week, quick announcement here. We have Ilana Zur coming back on for a web chat around decluttering your website, tightening up your VDP. She's got some tips to share. Ilana was on air with us back in March, so we'll be glad to have her back.
Good stuff.
Outside of that, folks, if you're not subscribed to Dealer Refresh, be sure to just go to the newsletter link right here and make sure you're subscribed. You'll get a few emails kind of indoctrinating you into the social aspect and the forums. Be sure to set up your profile. You can see here I'm logged in as me, and you can set up your own personal profile there. And that way we have a really good feel of who everybody is. Mike, if you haven't done that yet, there's your prompt to do so. Get involved in the forums.
Mike's already done that.
Keep an eye out for the blue box on our newsletters. This is our standard newsletter look, and we'll be putting registrations links to all upcoming webinars here in the blue box. And then we'll also send out announcements as well, like this one here, for those that for those that want to make sure to get to register and either attend live or get the recording. So with that said, any final comments, guys?
boom, shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka.
Cheers. See you guys
All right,
next
wind
week.
it down. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.